These are live visuals, ladies and gentlemen, from Paris, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just landed. He's getting a state welcome there. You can see the Prime Minister being welcomed in Paris. If we pull out of these shots, you will see, in fact, French dignitaries is there as well, who received the Prime Minister in Paris. Remember, the Prime Minister will be co-chairing the Artificial Intelligence Action Summit along with President of France, Emmanuel Macron. India and France will also likely to make some announcements on the small modular reactors, boosting the civil cooperation as well on this visit. These visuals are of the arrival of the Prime Minister of India in France, meeting various officials in France at the tarmac. All right, let me go across at this moment to my colleague Paridhi Banot, who's joining us from Paris with more details on this. Quite a welcome there for the Indian Prime Minister. Both France and India hoping that they can, of course, with United States and China already taking the lead in the AI business, can come up with some cooperation which can challenge their supremacy.
Absolutely, Ankit. In fact, it's been an exciting day in Paris. Lots of heads of state. There's lots of action that is taking place. Dignitaries that have been arriving since the morning, in fact, since late last evening. Visuals on our television screens right now are of Prime Minister Modi landing at Paris's Orly Airport, if I'm not mistaken. That definitely looks like it is. Those are shots from the Orly Airport. And the weather, however, is not cooperating. Ankit, unfortunately, it's raining really heavily. As you can also see in those shots, it's cold, it's raining, but that hasn't cast any shadow on the summit itself. Prime Minister Modi there, of course, is all smiles. He's meeting top-ranking French as well as Indian officials that are already on standby waiting for him. So, of course, with the Prime Minister now already in Paris, all eyes are going to be on France as well as India as they chair and co-chair the summit. And really the priority, like you said, is how AI can be taken forward for public good. That is one of the key challenges that I think all of the heads of states as well as the private companies are going to be cracking their heads on. That is, of course, at the top of the agenda. Other than that, there's going to be talks about regulating AI. Who should take the lead when it comes to regulation, governance of AI? Who should be governing, the artificial intelligence space? And also, it's about sustainability in this edition of the AI Action Summit. It's going to be about how to develop artificial intelligence technologies while at the same time respecting the environment, making sure that it is sustainable, but also to help expedite the process of, let's say, climate mapping using artificial intelligence technologies. So there's lots on the cards. There's a lot of talk that is going to take place on these issues that I've just mentioned. But before all of that, which is going to take place tomorrow on Tuesday, tonight, after Prime Minister Modi reaches his hotel, where, of course, there's a plethora of diaspora that is already waiting for him. He's going to be headed to the Élysée Palace, which is the official residence of the French President Emmanuel Macron, which is just actually a stone's throw away from me. The entire area has been cordoned off. There's a lot of VVIP movement that is taking place here. So the Prime Minister is going to be headed to the Élysée Palace. This is where he's going to have the first of his meetings and dinners tonight. And not only President Emmanuel Macron, but he's also expected to meet other heads of states that are already in Paris. For starters, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has already arrived in Paris. He was here since late last evening. So that is just one of the heads of states that we already know is at the Élysée Palace. Of course, there are others that are going to keep coming as the evening progresses. But that is one of the first official calls, so to speak, of the Prime Minister after landing in Paris. And
Yes.
We expect to see him here at the Élysée Palace in about 2 hours.
Absolutely. And, what about the warm relation that both the head of the states of India and France share? I mean, there is a personal bonhomie as well between Prime Minister Modi and President Macron. He's hosting a dinner for the Prime Minister as well.
Absolutely, and that bonhomie that you just talked about, it can be seen in the relationship that India and France have shared. Over the past decade, if I may say so, starting from 2015 when we signed the Solar Alliance with France. That was, of course, one of the first steps that sort of pushed the relationship forward. And over the course of the last 1 year, in fact, Prime Minister Modi and President Emmanuel Macron have met multiple times. They've met at least 4 times, if I can remember correctly. They met on the sidelines of the G7, of the G20. Prime Minister Modi was also here for the Bastille Day. So the two, of course, have shared a really close relationship with each other, and they're looking to cooperate when it comes to defense, when it comes to new technologies, when it comes to the Indo-Pacific. These, of course, are some of the key areas that both India as well as France hope to cooperate on. And it's going to be quite interesting to see, in fact, Ankit, how this summit truly ends, whether or not India is able to sort of bridge that technological divide that currently exists when it comes to development of AI technologies. Because, as you rightly mentioned, China, of course, is far ahead in the game. The United States is also really far ahead in the game. And France, of course, is the third country that, so to speak, has a large language model, an LLM, much like a ChatGPT. So, when it comes to that technological divide in the development of AI, that is something that India really hopes to be able to combat by means of being the co-chair of this summit. And I think it's really, truly the responsibility that India has on it right now, to be able to represent the Global South, to be able to make sure the Global South has a say when it comes to development of AI technologies and just truly democratize the entire process.
Right. Paridhi, also, we can see, as you were mentioning, the weather is quite bad there. It seems to have been, raining, and it's quite cold as well. Apart from that dinner, what are the other important engagements that the Prime Minister is going to have on this very short visit, that he will have on his way to United States of America?
It is indeed a short trip. I mean, so to speak, the Prime Minister is only going to be in Paris for about a day and a half. Tonight is the dinner with the heads of states and private organizations, big tech. That's on the cards for tonight. But tomorrow, of course, is going to be a really, really hectic day as far as Prime Minister Modi's itinerary is concerned. In the morning, to start off, he's going to be co-chairing the AI summit alongside France. So that is going to take up half the day, after which Prime Minister Modi, along with President Emmanuel Macron, is expected to be visiting Marseille. Marseille is in the south of France, and it is where India is going to be opening up a new consulate general. So that is going to be a shift from just having one embassy in the capital, Paris, to now having a consulate in Marseille, which, of course, has been on the cards for multiple years. It's been talked about. But on this trip of the Prime Minister to Paris, we can, in fact, hope for this new consulate to be inaugurated. And that, in fact, is also going to throw the relationship, a little further from where it stands.
That's right. India and France have been partners on many important issues as far as the international relations are concerned. And it also becomes quite important, ladies and gentlemen, in context with the changes that we are seeing in United States of America, where earlier President Trump was also speaking about laying a lot of tariffs on Europe as well. So Europe would want, France would want more business and opportunities as far as India goes. Paridhi, at this moment, while we see these visuals of the Prime Minister being welcomed in Paris, there are a lot of other world leaders. You were mentioning Justin Trudeau already there, to take part as far as this summit is concerned. Should this be seen as, the rest of the world and other democracies, big, economies coming together to try and see whether they can compete or outshine the models which have been put forward by United States and China?
Absolutely, Ankit. That, of course, is one of the main reasons that, I think India has also gotten the opportunity to be able to be the co-chair for this event, right? Because it's truly about representation. And in having India be the co-chair of the Global AI Summit, truly speaks very highly of what the ambitions of the summit, are expected to be and what world leaders truly want from it. Now, having said that, while of course it is about democratizing artificial intelligence and the development of AI technologies, at the same time, when it comes to competing globally, what we need is investments. What we need is money, because at the end of the day, that is what is going to determine how these new technologies are developed, how much money is spent in the research, development, in the actual rollout of these new technologies. So it really truly boils down to how much the world and how much these heads of states are willing to invest when it comes to AI technologies. When it comes to competing with the US,
Right.
for instance, late in January, President Trump announced $500 billion for the private companies to invest in AI and to develop AI technologies. Now, if we juxtapose that with what President Emmanuel Macron announced last evening, which is $109 billion. So you see there's a very big gap when it comes to the spending in artificial intelligence. And while on one hand, we do want to compete and we do want to democratize the process, it's going to be tough. And it's going to require a lot of cooperation, not just
Right.
from the public sector, but also the private.